All right, good morning all. Very sincere apology for the delay of the webinar. My name is Harry Ma. I'm one of the investment managers here at Sharewise. Today we are joined by Biome Australia's Managing Director Blair Norfolk, who's going to present for us today. As usual, we've got time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. If you've got any questions, please put them in the Q&A box at the bottom. Of course, we encourage as many questions as possible for Blair today. And of course, this webinar is recorded. So if you can't view the whole webinar, it will be on our YouTube channel posted later today. So Blair, over to you. Good morning.
Thank you, Harry. Really pleased to be here again. Sincere apologies from us as well. Unfortunately, we were waiting in the waiting room with everyone else, but really excited to share the Biome story and journey and give people a bit of an update and opportunity to answer some questions on Biome Australia. So before I put the slides up, just to take a step back, I want to give people a bit of a background on where we came from, and part of that's my journey as founder of the company. So going back to 2012, I'd finished my studies, my master's. I was consulting to the nutritional supplement industry in California. And like many people that get into natural medicine or health, it starts off with a personal health journey of their own. So I was diagnosed with my second autoimmune disease, and that led me into launching our first brand, which was called Activated Nutrients, range of nutraceutical products. So we came back to Australia. We launched that brand in 2013. So we've been doing what we're doing for a lot longer than since when we founded Biome Australia in 2018. So this business was where we started off learning in great detail and building relationships within the pharmaceutical industry, within pharmacy, within the wider distribution network, health professionals, R&D, manufacturing partners, etc. But where things got really interesting was in 2016. We got involved in a clinical trial in the gut microbiome on children with asthma. So this is where the company really transitioned into a solutions-driven or high-impact business that was solving health problems, not just selling general health or wellness. So we got brought into a clinical trial with 440 children with asthma, something very close to my own heart. My older sister struggled with asthma quite severely when I was a child. The head microbiologist had done a lot of preclinical work and animal studies and lab work to pre-validate a very specific strain of bacteria, a probiotic bacteria called Lactobacillus salivarius LSO1. So it's important to note, so Biome's point of difference in the market's our clinical trials and the specialized bacteria that we use to target different conditions or diseases. So this first study, we looked at 440 children. 400 took our probiotic, which is now called Biome Breathe Probiotic. Sorry, 220 took our probiotic and 220 on the placebo. So randomised, placebo-controlled, double-blind clinical trials, gold standard research. In that study over 6 months, the children on the probiotic saw a 64% reduction in asthma attacks, frequency, severity, and then a secondary endpoint in the study was we saw a 64% reduction in the need and the use of the medication, the Ventolin reliever, which, this was absolutely science fiction back in 2016. On surveying the market before we launched our flagship brand, Activated Probiotics, that many of you may have seen in your local pharmacy today, we looked at the market. 80% of the clinical research within the gut microbiome and probiotic space is very much strain-specific, disease-targeted research, finding that sweet spot right between biotech and complementary medicine. When we look at the market back then, it was 80% to 90% just gut health. So that is generic probiotic products, multi-strain blends in high doses that effectively are more like a vitamin. They're for just general health and wellness with no specific action, clinical research, or outcomes to support a patient with a condition or a disease. So Biome then had first mover opportunity, or first mover advantage as well. So in 2019, we launched our first brand, our first probiotic brand, Activated Probiotics. I'll jump into my slide deck now so we can look at it in a bit more detail. But from that point in time, we, as I said, first mover advantage. There's my share screen. Fantastic. I'll get straight into this. So we launched the brand into Australia. Because of the history the business had, we had a good opportunity to get into pharmacy distribution very quickly. Can you all see my slides now, Harry?
Yeah, we can see them.
You can?
Yep.
Wonderful. So I suppose from this point, this really led us to a transition in mission and direction of the company as well. So having a clinically proven probiotic for asthma and then 8 or 9 other conditions that I'll talk about in a moment, or diseases, it really focused us to think about who do we want to be. We didn't want to just sell products to people, being a marketing company. We wanted to do something truly special that could help improve the quality of life of the patients that take our product, but importantly, make them accessible. So we are a practitioner-only brand. We work through health professionals, something I'll talk about in a moment. But so where we started, 2019. So Biome Australia launched the activated probiotic brand into the market. This is pre-IPO. We started off with a couple of hundred pharmacies, and in year one, we did $830,000 revenue. We then proceeded through the next few financial years, 2.1 million, 4.2 million, 7.3 million, and we just closed FY24 with $13 million in sales. So we've averaged 75 to 80% growth year on year. 2021, after the initial impact of COVID on the Australian environment, Australian population, we decided it was time for us, a little bit early stage, but we decided it was time to go through an IPO, secure funding to bring the company from, at that stage, 2.1 million in revenue, an exciting business with strong distribution and protected products that are truly, unique in the market. Use that money, that $8 million we raised, to bring the company to where we are today through the last 2 or 3 years, bringing us to essentially positive EBITDA, cash flow, and essentially profitability. So Biome listed on November 30, 2021 on the ASX. We then started off our journey as a pre-profit healthcare company in a challenging market. So we built a foundation and our brand in activated probiotics, our brand that consumers and patients and doctors see. But then we started to learn and build our Biome Australia brand, which is our corporate identity. Completely different brand from our product, our activated probiotics. But in Biome Australia, as an ASX listed entity, as ASX BIO, we needed to now gain the trust of analysts, of investors, of the wider financial markets. And I think today we've done a great job of that through a few key strategies. And those strategies are making sure we over-deliver, we under-promise, we beat every number that we put to market, and we've done that absolutely consistently. We've never missed a beat. We spent less money doing it, and as we closed FY24, we were pleased to share that the last 3 quarters were cash flow positive, and the second half of FY24 was EBITDA positive. We're doing record quarter after record quarter, and I'll share some further financial results in a moment. But firstly, what is activated probiotics? I spoke about one key product, but I'll give you a bit more background on the product range and why it's so unique and important. So activated probiotics is a range of novel probiotics, targeted probiotics, all the way through to live biotherapeutics. So we're talking about world-first products almost completely free from competition, supporting patients with different conditions. We spoke about Biome Breathe. So this is a targeted strain of bacteria, Lactobacillus salivarius LSO1, which has been clinically proven to improve or reduce the effect of asthma on children. Our initial launch range of 9 products back in 2019 also included Biome Lift, one of the world's most well-validated mental health probiotics. This product now has 3 clinical trials, 2 published and 1 awaiting publication, on depressed mood, anger, stress, anxiety, all the way through to a sub-threshold depression population. A 3rd clinical trial we did on this product in partnership with La Trobe University, which is the 1 awaiting publication any week now. Biome Osteo, which is the favorite of many pharmacists around Australia. So this is the world's first probiotic for bone health. Unlike taking a vitamin D supplement or calcium to, I suppose, improve your bone absorption of calcium and other more mainstream focuses around general bone health, this is quite a unique mechanism of action. This product was studied, 3 unique strains of bacteria, studied on 278 women in Sweden. And over a 12-month clinical trial, we saw a 78% reduction in the rate of bone loss in postmenopausal women. So the concept here is osteoporosis prevention. Incredibly important product for an asymptomatic condition that gets a lot of attention from Big Pharma, but there isn't a lot of things that people can use as an intervention or a prevention for osteoporosis. Biome IBS. So many people will be familiar with the topic of IBS, that is irritable bowel syndrome. It's not a disease, it's a collection of symptoms that affects a large part of the population. The statistics say roughly 20% of the population have been express these symptoms, but we believe it's much higher than that. People that do, on an ongoing basis experience bloating, constipation, diarrhea, general discomfort in the gastrointestinal system. Biome IBS is a combination of the two world's leading probiotic strains from competing manufacturers, and Biome got an exclusive license to put these together to be the world's most effective and fastest acting probiotic for IBS. We have products for skin, so Biome Eczema and Biome Acne, both clinically proven products. There is nothing else in the market that has this type of evidence, being a probiotic that has been the finished product, our activated probiotic products, put through that randomised, placebo-controlled, double-blind clinical trial. Biome Eczema top-line clinical outcome was a 54% reduction in eczema symptoms and a 52% improvement in quality of life. 2 studies, one on children, pediatric, and another one on adults. Biome Acne is an acne probiotic. The name speaks for itself. Clinically proven to reduce acne symptoms, acne lesions, pimples by 40%. Biome Her, I won't talk through all of them. Biome Her is one of our best-selling condition-specific products. This is a favorite for most women in a pharmacy or who are seeing a private integrative general practitioner or naturopath that will be prescribing activated probiotic products. Biome Her has been clinically trialed to use either orally or as a pessary directly, intravaginally, and it is indicated for bacterial vaginosis and thrush, conditions that are not very easy for a lot of women to talk about, certainly not to go to maybe a male doctor to ask for help with. And that Canesten cream will be in many women's bathroom cupboards, as well as the recurrent antibiotic prescriptions. Unfortunately, these conditions affect women on an ongoing basis. So there is now 18 products in the activated probiotics range. The brand has been the fastest growing brand out of the entire complementary medicine market. That's all probiotics, all vitamins, all other natural medicines over the last 3 to 4 years. And that's backed up by consumer scan data buying from pharmacies. So I believe last financial year, for the full 12 months, we grew at 75% in pharmacy scan sales. So that's not our top line, that's actual consumer buying data. And that is a multiple 3 or 4 times higher than the next closest brand. The products as probiotics are shelf stable. They're clinically proven, as I mentioned, and they have a secret weapon as well in probiotics being a living microorganism. In some cases, if they're not well manufactured, struggle to stay alive for a full 2 years or the 2-year shelf life. Biome, with its partners, has developed a microencapsulation technology, 2 published clinical trials showing 5 times more of our probiotics can survive the journey through the stomach, that highly acidic environment that will kill most bacteria, to get to the large intestine where they can work to modulate the immune system and significantly improve whatever condition it is that we have strains to support a patient with on that product. So very effective products. The products are supported in pharmacy behind the counter as practitioner only. So this might not be something that everyone's familiar with in the market. It's a model that was developed by a healthcare brand in the 80s in the US called Metagenics. And this strategy of practitioner only means we have firstly clinically backed products. So they're a higher level of evidence, a higher quality product than what you see in the retail space, in the front of shop in pharmacy, on e-commerce or in the supermarket. Our team of health qualified education professionals will detail doctors, pharmacists, natural medicine professionals, naturopaths, nutritionists, to name a few. Then they'll actively recommend our product. So while Biome in the Australian market has about 16 sales and education staff working out in the field, visiting pharmacies, visiting doctors every day to train them and develop those businesses. Most importantly, we've recruited 25 to 30,000 doctors and pharmacists around Australia to be actively recommending our product any day. A much more powerful business strategy than general sales and marketing that you'll see in the big vitamin brands. We're outside Australia now as well. So Activated Probiotics has had a very conservative but focused, I suppose, international market, test market and launch strategy. So 2.5 years ago, we got pulled into the UK and Ireland through the medical community, through doctors and nutritional therapists. So we developed our international growth strategy now that we roll out into other regions in a way that it's a very low OPEX investment. We'll go into a market and initially distribute with no retail locations, only through doctors, through e-scripts, naturopaths, nutritional medicine professionals. Once we reach enough scale that we're seeing, say $500,000 turnover, and we're running this thing at close to a break-even exercise for that business unit, we will then, in a de-risked way, scale into health retail locations, being high-end independent health food stores and community pharmacies in that market. So pleasingly, after early success in the UK and Ireland, we were confident to launch into health retail from January this year. And as the numbers show, we grew 95% through FY24 in international market. Early stage still, roughly $900,000 in that market, but up 95% versus PCP. So some other business results for everyone. FY24 sales revenue, as I mentioned, 13 million, up 80% versus the previous corresponding period, being FY23. This is important to note. Our growth has actually escalated from the year before, where we did roughly 75% FY22 to FY23. Q1 FY25, we released only a week or two ago. Historically, we like to release the last quarter sales update the first day of the new quarter. It's always good news for us, so we're pleased to get out to shareholders to give them an update on how the business is tracking. We reached 4.25 million, sorry, that's a typo, for Q1 FY25, up 12% versus Q4 FY23, putting us at an annualized run rate of 17 million. And we're talking 3 months in on a run rate of only 15 million at the end of FY24. We are now cash flow and EBITDA positive, a huge milestone for the business. And, since launching in 2018, this has been a goal. After listing on the ASX, growth companies, which we are, we're not getting paid. We're not getting the support from the market. So we pivoted our strategy to getting to positive EBITDA sooner. We successfully achieved that outcome with 287,000 for the second half FY24, with one adjustment for non-cash share-based payments, which is an ongoing thing that we'll always have with our EBITDA. Our gross margin is running at above 60%. Important to note for those that aren't as familiar with our category being consumer health or probiotics, anything above 50% is considered exceptional. Many of the vitamin brands that operate a discount strategy may run only a 30 to 40% gross margin. Biome is running roughly 61%. And since IPO, we've increased it from 54 quarter on quarter or half year on half year. It's gradually increased to over 60%, something that we're continually work on as our sales grow. We expect our gross margin to continue to improve, which is very unusual. NPAT grew 45% or improved 45% versus PCP. So we are getting very close to that positive NPAT number. That's for the full financial year. And same-store pharmacy sales, as I mentioned previously, are 75% up versus the previous corresponding period. As I already explained, that means actual consumer purchases has grown in a store by 75%. Only a couple of weeks ago, we also released a very confident 3-year plan called dubbed Vision 27. This is Biome's plan on how we're going to take the company from what was one of the most, if not the most successful microcap on the ASX last year, growing our market cap about 5 to 6 times, to bring the business into what we hope will be an ASX 300 company, growing the business for cumulative sales from around 24 million to up to 85 million over the next 3 years, FY25 to FY27. I haven't got the details of that plan, but it is posted on the ASX only a couple of weeks ago, titled Vision 27. There's also a video presentation on that you're free to watch. The key components on that are the international expansion, growing our same-store sales, but something also more importantly that I'm going to talk about on the next slide. So Biome Australia has a very unique strategy around unlocking the pharmacy dispensary and also the medical dispensary. So probiotics, by virtue of the fact that they are almost completely safe, they have a close to complete safety profile, no known drug interactions, and pharmacists and doctors will confidently prescribe these products alongside medications. That's quite unusual, and it's never been executed well or ever executed before by a brand. The reason being, pharmacists by nature are the gatekeepers of the drug industry. They're there to protect consumers and patients, keep them safe, make sure they're on the right drug, make sure they're not taking 2 drugs that contraindicate each other and could risk a patient's life or give them an adverse event. For probiotics, they are completely safe. They never leave the digestive tract. Drugs are metabolized and go through the circulatory system, go in the blood. And because of this, they never cause any contraindications or known drug interactions. But Biome Australia has clinically proven condition-specific products on many different topics. One of our most recent launch only about 6 weeks ago was Biome Cholesterol Probiotic, the 18th product in the range, which has got 4 published clinical trials showing it significantly reduces cholesterol in an at-risk population who are concerned about cholesterol risk. So the reason why cholesterol is such an important topic, if you're not already aware, heart disease is the #1 killer in Australia, and cholesterol is seen as one of the key inputs by doctors on something that you want to work on to prevent heart disease or heart attacks. So the top 2 drugs on the PBS are rosuvastatin, and the other statin listed here these are the #1 and 2 drugs by volume in Australia. So having a clinically proven probiotic that shows it reduces cholesterol. We also have 2 clinical trials used alongside statins, showing that they're safe and it actually improves the effectiveness of the statin and reduces side effects. Is quite an interesting proposition. So Biome plans to unlock the pharmacy dispensary and look at the 330 million prescriptions a year in Australia alone to be able to actively have a product of ours recommended alongside a market that we have no competition in. And because of the virtue of being clinically proven and a safe product, unlike anything else that can tick all those boxes, we are now successfully working on this project. And if we can significantly overachieve on those revenue goals that I've shared earlier within Vision 27 and beyond. So Biome Australia has, of the 18 products, there are at least 14 or 15 that can be recommended alongside a drug. We're talking about for immune health, for antibiotic co-administration, for asthma, for mental health and depression, anxiety, osteoporosis, skin conditions. So it doesn't always have to be a drug, but important to note, our products sell on their own right, and they're very, very popular. So the activated probiotic products are recommended well above the industry standard as well. So I have some interesting data to share with everyone. In TerryWhite Kmart, our #1 pharmacy group, Australia's largest pharmacy group and the highest service and health-focused outlet in Australia with over 600 pharmacies now. TerryWhite has shared some of their customer data from the TerryWhite Kmart database of over 2 million Australians. The average shopper is buying more than 2.1 activated probiotic boxes per transaction, and they're returning more than 6 times a year. So those boxes are all monthly boxes. So that's showing our customers buying more than 12 units in every 12 months of a monthly product. We are the #1 growth brand, as I've already mentioned, bar none, and that's through the wholesaler, that's through the pharmacy scan, and that's also through every other measure we've been able to see. And that's backed up at TerryWhite Kmart and Priceline as the #1 growth brand in the category, and the wholesalers that we work with, Symbion and API, who supply all the pharmacies. So I'm just going to see what else we want to work through today. So the distribution model that we have at the moment in Australia is roughly 5,000 distribution points. So Biome Australia operates in about 40% of the independent pharmacies, community pharmacies, and private practitioners. So a doctor or naturopath will either buy our products and put them in a locked cupboard. When you go see the doctor or the naturopath, they'll prescribe them and hand them to you. In a pharmacy setting, the product sits behind the counter, right in that premium position behind the pharmacist in the white coat, the most valuable shelf in the store, a shelf that continually develops the highest amount of gross margin return on floor space or the highest profitability of any shelf space within the pharmacy. Activated Probiotics has several shelves in this space, and it puts us uniquely right behind the pharmacist to be able to grab the product, recommend it, but also suggest a consumer or a patient take it alongside various medications. Some of the brands that pharmacy banner groups that we work with in Australia. So pretty much everyone other than the yellow group in Chemist Warehouse. It's important to note we are a premium brand. Unlike every other brand in the market, we do not discount. We do not do deals. We're premium affordable. We do very well in lower and middle socioeconomic suburbs. The products are $30 to $60. So as I said, premium affordable, but we're very much, to use an analogy from the fashion industry, the Chanel handbag of the healthcare industry. We're not looking to quickly grow sales through a deal or a discount that erodes our margin and is a race to the bottom. We try very hard to prevent our products getting online or into e-commerce marketplaces or in discount drugstores or supermarkets. We want to work with the premium health-focused outlets, and we've proven that it works and that it continues to work, being that we're outgrowing everyone else in the market, including brands in Chemist Warehouse. The international expansion is ongoing, as is our clinical research. I will just quickly touch on international in a bit more detail. We recently announced approval of our first 9 products with Health Canada, and then our first distribution partner in the Canadian market. I was there with the team a couple of weeks ago launching the brand. With very early signs show the test market is going quite well, and we'll look forward to sharing an update with the ASX and our shareholders in the coming months on the Canadian market launch. But essentially where I'm going with that is we see over the next 10 years, and I'd love to be sitting in this chair in 10 years time from now, growing this business, and whether we're paying a dividend or providing growth opportunities in the market cap for shareholders, our goal is to maintain growth across all measures. But we see North America, Europe, and Australia, New Zealand as our 3 core markets, where all of our competitors are chasing online e-commerce and the Chinese market that is an expensive marketing game, and it's also one that erodes your margin. To stay ahead of the competition, we do a lot of our own clinical research. So unlike anyone else, or unlike almost all brands, we do partner with universities around Australia and internationally. These are 3 ongoing clinical trials that we have on our Biome Lift, the mental health probiotic, Biome Daily Kids, our best-selling kids probiotic and our second best-selling probiotic in the range, in children in daycare centers looking at reducing sick days, illness, and upper respiratory tract infections, and on Biome Osteo, the one I mentioned that potentially reduces osteoporosis through reducing bone loss. This is a follow-up study, something that again is unusual. We like to do extra research to gain extra trust from doctors, from patients, and this study with La Trobe University is nearing its end as well, at a later stage population with osteopenia. Osteopenia is a halfway point between a healthy population and an osteoporotic population. There will be other clinical trials announced and other publications coming through, but it's important to note a lot of this R&D, we've found a way to carefully leverage our relationships with universities to, in most cases, get them to support us with, I suppose, their time in kind to gain access to this incredible intellectual property that we have, and to be able to do world first research on probiotics for different diseases. So we'll present a concept to a university on a specific disease. So for example, the cholesterol product that has 4 clinical trials. We'll say we've got this product, it's got really good preclinical research. We may have an animal study or a pilot study done somewhere else in the world. We'll pitch to them, they'll come back with a quote, then we'll negotiate it back down to about 80 to 90% off what it would normally cost to run one of these studies. So an example, the Biome Lift clinical trial was quoted in at about $400,000 to $500,000 to run over about 18 months. We got this one down to about $50,000 to $60,000, of which Biome only funded a third of. However, we get the advantage of the intellectual property. Some patient results. So these products, yes, they're operating from within the gut microbiome, but for those that aren't aware, and I should have probably explained at the beginning, probiotics' main action is 2 key things. It's reducing systemic inflammation and gut inflammation, but then it's also, they interact with the immune system and help normalize, I suppose, inappropriate or learnt immune responses, which may be an allergy. In this condition, this is young child Jude, whose parents and pharmacists sent this through unprompted and said, please share. This child had eczema all over his body, so much so that he lived in Queensland. He couldn't go into the ocean because his whole body would sting. A couple of months on the Biome Eczema probiotic, 95% cleared up. Another example of a baby with eczema, and this one's quite confronting as well. This is from a health professional in New Zealand who had such bad eczema on her hand, it was all blistered and bleeding. And as you can see here, only in a couple of months, completely cleared up. For this individual, being a health professional, It was also quite a mental health challenge, being able to go and see patients while having their own health condition, with the stigma that, if they can't look after themselves, how can they possibly be looking after someone else? So the products absolutely work, and that's why we get the repeat purchase. So I will probably now just turn over for questions. I think we've been through enough, and I don't want to bombard with too much more. I'll leave this summary slide up, showing key highlights from the last 12 months, and just remind everyone that there will be ongoing news flow of the business, more updates on Vision 27, and our 4C is due before the end of this month as well. Thank you very much for coming, and yeah, look forward to answering some questions.
Perfect. Thanks, Blair. Thanks for that very insightful presentation, and it's great to see the patient's results as well, which is fantastic. I've got a few questions. We had some registrants put some questions in prior to the webinar as well. But also, I guess to start off, can you share a bit about how Biome Australia's probiotics have been accepted by the pharmacy and also the wider consumer market?
Look, to start a brand in our industry is incredibly difficult, and most people fail. I think it's the old adage, the first 10 million is incredibly difficult, and then it starts getting easier from there. And I can say that's absolutely true from my experience as well. We started with a couple of hundred pharmacies back in 2018. We now have 5,000 plus distribution points, roughly a 50-50 mix of pharmacies and health professionals. In most cases, we're the favorite brand of anyone because the products work. Pharmacists don't like selling retail products. They studied a degree not far dissimilar from medicine, and they want to be there to support complex patients and improve quality of life. And there is a mistrust of a lot of more general vitamin products. So being that we're professional, practitioner only, we have very unique clinical trials on our finished product on diseases and conditions. We found it reasonably straightforward to gain the trust. But then from that point, over the last 5 years, we've had to teach them to understand how to use these products. So best example, I've got a number one performing account last year was selling around 925 boxes at their peak, monthly boxes. So we're talking about $500,000 in scan sales, or at Biome's margin, that's a $320,000 pharmacy for a single pharmacy. Put that further in context, that would be 7 to 10 times the gross profit or scan sales of the leading vitamin brands. So our model lends itself to much higher turnover in each account, in each pharmacy. And we don't want to be everywhere for everyone. We want to be in the places where we can support patients.
Yeah, of course. And you touched on I think it was the practitioner-only model. Why does Biome Australia choose to invest in health practitioner market, say, versus e-commerce, and what's been the benefit of doing so?
Very fair question. So look, as I said earlier, everyone seems to be fixated on e-commerce, and while we absolutely have a digital health strategy and plan, it is a professional one, not a mass market, say Amazon or eBay approach. So our products being world first products for different diseases and conditions, if you just put them on a shelf or you put them online, the TGA in Australia won't allow us to talk about diseases or clinical trials in marketing. So the most sensible approach is to go via a health professional, a doctor, a pharmacist, or a naturopath. Anyone who's health qualified can take our clinical trials and the learnings that we teach them, and then they can go and explain to their patient, this product has been shown in a study to reduce this condition by X amount. It's safe, it's effective. Would you like to try it? And then that person, that white coat, it's a very powerful recommendation or endorsement. It's very unusual for someone to say no, certainly if it's a condition that is really bothering them. So the e-commerce market, we don't ignore it, but we try to protect our brand. In the same analogy I used earlier of the fashion market, the premium fashion market, you wouldn't want a high-end brand popping up on every discount website. We really want our patients, our consumers, purchasing the product for the benefit, not because it's on 50% discount. And that is a much more powerful long-term growth plan, we believe. Yeah,
of course. And on clinical trials, you mentioned clinical trials and research being your focus as a business. And can you just, I guess, dive into more detail as to what that looks like? I had I had someone post a question prior to the webinar on double-blind trials and what products, if all, if any, you do that with.
So of the 18 products, off the top of my mind, roughly 13 or 14 are clinically proven, and they've been put through randomised, placebo-controlled, double-blind studies on our finished product, not on someone else's product, not on one of the ingredients mixed with something else. That's what's so unique about Biome, and that stands us ahead of anyone else in our market. It is the evidence, and then it's the strategy, which is why we're winning. You can't go sell a probiotic for mental health without a clinical trial. And even with one clinical trial, they usually want to have a second or a third. So we're quite happy to be the shining light and the leader in research and development within our category. I also sit on the board of the International Probiotics Association. So, we do have access to the global thought leading microbiologists and researchers. So we've now built a name and a trust of Biome and activated probiotics within the research community that any unique IP, however difficult or challenging it would be to sell a probiotic for osteoporosis or for asthma, it'll always come to Biome first. We work with all the leading global fermenters of probiotic strains and research institutions. So it is at our core. As I already explained, we do our own studies with universities independently, that we don't have our hands on them like a biotech looking for an outcome. We have to live and die with the result. However, we're very confident in our understanding of the mechanism of action of each strain before we put it through research. Due to that, we always get positive results in our studies. It's just whether is it going to be a 10% improvement in a condition, or in some cases 70 or 80% improvement.
Yeah, perfect. And I've got a question here from Pete in the Q&A. Given the trials you've done and the constraints consequent to not being TGA approved, do you plan to seek TGA registration going forward?
So we are TGA approved, absolutely. So our products are listed medicines on the TGA. All of our research and claims that we do have are based on the evidence. We're not a drug, really important to note. The TGA has different regulatory pathways. They have listed medicines, registered medicines, then there's the drug pathway. There's also medical devices. So most of our products are listed medicines, which are absolutely regulated by the TGA, which puts us into essentially the pharmaceutical category, but we don't need to prove or go through the drug pathway of phase 1, phase 2A, 2B, 3. Most of the protocol around drug applications is about safety and risk. We have a complete safety profile. So our clinical trials are just about showing the result or the outcome, which is obviously, once it's safe, the most important thing.
Yeah. And I guess my last question for you personally, Blair, is what excites you going forward in sort of driving shareholder value? Obviously, you said you're having record quarter after record quarter. You're expanding into the new markets. You've got Canada. I think you said you're in 40% of most independent pharmacies. What do you think going forward? Is it going to be the products? Is it expansion? What excites you?
Look, I mean, the true honest answer to that is the outcome for the patient. I mean, it's something that many brands will say, but it's something we live and breathe. Everyone that works for Biome Australia is a highly driven, highly intelligent, impact-driven person. Maybe I'm not saying I'm intelligent, everyone else that works for the company. But we are absolutely focused. Every strategy or decision we make is how is this going to benefit a patient? It's not let's launch a new product to get next quarter up. It's we won't launch a product unless there is a study's completed or there's an appropriate outcome. We have enough growth. We have enough products to be able to continue to develop. We don't want to have 300 products. We're happy having a smaller suite of 20 to 30 that are all selling well. Traditionally in our category, brands will have the 80-20 rule. 80% of their products don't sell at all. All of our products sell, obviously some better than others. For me, patient impact, you can get a bit too fixated and excited on the results. We all do, or the share price or the market cap improvements. But we want to have a long-term quality business. I want to be sitting here in 10 years and not made bad decisions for short-term growth milestones. Long-term sustainable growth, to be able to sit here in 10 years helping millions of patients with different diseases and conditions, unlike has been done before. My goal is to have a business as big as or bigger than Blackmores, but never selling out to the discount model and being able to keep this professional and a very serious, respectable company.
Absolutely. Very well said. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And thank you for all our attendees for being present. And a reminder that this webinar is recorded. So if you missed the start or if you couldn't watch to the end, it's obviously on our YouTube channel. And apologies again on behalf of myself and Sharewise for the delayed start this morning. But Blair, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Harry, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Perfect.